Are you under earning? Are you working all the time in your business and not really being able to have a ton of income to show for it in terms of money that you pay yourself as a CEO? Or do you feel like your efforts for lead gen and marketing are not resulting in the sales that you want? Do you feel like you are just not reaching your potential in terms of the amount of income that you know is possible for you in your business? If the answer is yes to any of those questions, then this video is going to be for you, because I'm going to talk you through the signs that you're under earning, the causes of under earning, and what you can do about it. So over the last few weeks, I have done a few episodes that all tie into this idea of how do we make more money from our businesses, from talking about how to assess if your business is financially healthy, to prioritizing weekly CEO dates, which in my opinion are one of the most important things you can do if you want to stay on top of your business and keep moving toward your goals. We talked about how to assess whether or not you're making more money, how to set next level money goals. And so today we're going to talk about under earning, because I think that it's really, really closely tied to this concept of how do we increase the overall profitability of our businesses. And you probably think I'm going to give you some tactical, strategic tips for how to make more money, but I'm actually not, because I think that there's something else that is the cause of pretty much every case that I have ever seen of a client who's not hitting their goals, who's not making the money that they want to make. I actually also have a lot of episodes out there already. We'll link some in the description, where we talk about the tactical and strategic things that you need to think about or you can potentially implement in your business to make more money. If you are under earning, if you're not reaching your capacity for the income that you can make as a business owner, or even in general, right? The cause is your mindset. The cause is your thoughts and beliefs that you have around money, around success, and around your self-worth. So first off, let me just say that I think that this concept of under earning is super, super common. And so if you fall into this category of feeling like you're not reaching your full potential in terms of what you can make, just know that pretty much all business owners, I would say, fall into this category at one point or another, myself included. And this mindset that we have around money and our success really is driven by a lot of deeply held beliefs that you've had probably for decades since you were a kid. And so just know that, give yourself a little bit of self-compassion if you feel like you're struggling with this, that you're not alone, that it's completely normal to go through this. And it's just a normal part of growing a business, I think, is having to learn to deal with all of these things as they come up, to learn to regulate your nervous system, to change your mindset, and to expand your capacity around what's possible for you. So first, I want to define what under earning actually is. Under earning is when a business owner is earning less than their full potential, not due to their skill set, but due to their internal mindset. This is not you if you are purposefully making less money, if you're purposefully scaling back your business because you just want more of a lifestyle type of business where you don't necessarily want to make a ton of money. But I would also like to challenge you, if you fall into that bucket, I want to challenge you to make sure that you're making that decision from a place of alignment and not from a place of fear. Because I see a lot of people who say that they want to make less money, who say that they don't want to grow their business, but deep down inside, they actually have a desire to do that. They're just afraid of actually doing the thing. And so if you want to make less on purpose, like if you truly don't need to make or don't want to make a lot of money, or more money than you're currently making, I should say, then I would say you're not under earning. But my guess is that most of you listening to this do fit that criteria of just not making as much as your potential could be in your business. So if you fall into this camp of under earning, then you have some sort of mindset block around money. What I want to do here is give you a few questions that you can go and journal on, that I would really encourage you to sit with, like find some space, sit down and just think about the answers to these questions and be really, really honest with yourself without judgment, okay? Because these beliefs that you have are not on purpose necessarily. They're just things that your subconscious mind has learned over decades of you being alive. And until you become aware and really put in the work to change these things, this is not you thinking on purpose, right? So don't give yourself a hard time. We don't judge ourselves for the thoughts that we have, but I really want you to be super honest with yourself about the answers to these questions. So question number one is how much money do you want? You can answer in terms of revenue, you can answer in terms of pay, you can answer in terms of your net worth, maybe all of the above, but really sit back and say, how much money do you desire? Not what sounds good, not what other people tell you that you should make, but how much money do you want? How much money would make you feel like you've achieved your goals, you've done the things you were put on this earth to do, you've made the impacts you're going to make, you have the freedom that you want. How much money is that? And then once you come up with those numbers, I want you to ask yourself, what are you afraid of happening if you make that amount of money? So some examples could be having to work more. Thinking about if you grow your business to this point, it's going to be hard. It's going to be stressful. You're going to have to work 100 hours a week. You could be afraid of when you make more money, you might mess it up because you don't have the skill set, because you have a history of not managing your money appropriately. You might have some thoughts that you don't maybe deserve that amount of money, that you're not worthy of that amount. You could have negative connotations about rich people or wealthy people, or you might be worried about how other people, whether it's your friends, your family, your community, people online, will perceive you if you make that amount of money. You might be worried that you're going to be seen as a fraud. You might have some guilt or shame around having that much money when other people around you maybe don't. And it could be something else that I haven't listed, or it could be multiple things on this list. But I want you to sit down and think through, if I had this amount of money, let's say $10 million is the number. If I actually have this number in my bank account, what does that mean? What am I afraid of is going to happen? What is your initial reaction to thinking about having that money actually in your bank account? And once you think through what you're afraid of is going to happen, my next question is, what do you make this mean about you? So I'll tell you, one of my money blocks is ironically, being somebody who's quote unquote good at money. I'm telling you this as to make a point that just because somebody has the skill set that I have, that I still don't have money blocks and fears that I'm actively working on. So one of mine that has come up recently is a fear that if I grow my business to the next level, if I hit the goals that I want to hit, that I'm going to make bad decisions with it, that I'm not going to manage it well, that it's going to fly right back out the door. And so what's the point of putting in the effort to grow my business if it's just going to fly right out the door? Which is funny because I know logically in my logical brain, I'm absolutely aware of all the things that I can do to make sure that does not happen. But I think that where it comes from, or what I make this mean about me, is that I doubt my own ability to handle that much money. Even if I have many examples of clients and acquaintances and people in my community who have done that already, I doubt my own ability to operate at that level. And then if you dig deeper, you can ask yourself, okay, what does that mean if I don't have the ability to operate at that level? That means that I'm a failure. It could speak to my own internal self-worth, my beliefs about my self-worth, of being worthy of operating at that level, of being worthy of having that amount of responsibility on my plate. And ultimately for me, it goes back to a lot of my internal mindset of growing up being awkward, being not athletic, not popular, didn't know how to do my hair or dress well or any of that. And the only thing that I ever remember being praised for consistently was my success at school, was my achievements. And it goes back to this underlying fear of, if I fail at this, then what do I have? Who am I? And y'all, this is some deep stuff. And this is what I mean by saying, if you have a block like this, and I think every single one of us has one, it is going to show up in everything that you do. Your mindset, the way that your nervous system responds to things happening in your business, you are going to be influenced to take action that align with this belief that you have about yourself. And so it's really important that if you find yourself in a situation where you're not meeting your potential, that you sit back and take the time consistently to become aware of these thoughts and beliefs that you have. And then once you're aware, then that's when you can do something about it. So the last journaling prompt that I want to ask is, when you have this thought, when you have this belief, number one, what feelings does that make you feel? It could be fear, shame, anxiety, overwhelm. I just want you to sit with and say, when I have this belief, what feelings do you have? And then when you are in that place of feeling fearful, of feeling ashamed or whatever, guilty, overwhelm, anxiety, what are the actions that you take in your business? What are the things that you do or don't do? And so when you're feeling this deep-seated fear coming up in some form, my guess is you're not operating as your highest and best self that you possibly could, because you're coming from a place of fear. And even if you do the things, if you try to fake it till you make it, right? You can do the activities, you can do the actions that you know that you need to do to grow your business. You're still coming at it from a place of fear, and you're not going to feel aligned with that. And the other people that you're interacting with, they're going to know. We have a sense when somebody has that mentality behind the things that they say. And then when you take those actions, when you do the things or don't do the things that you need to do to grow your business, what are the results you get? Probably the result that you get is under-earning. And so, of course, this is something that we want to shift. So I'm going to give you a few tips for how to shift it. This is something that I go much deeper into. I actually have just been rewriting and re-recording all of my lessons in the High Profit Society on money mindset. Because I think the last time I recorded it was probably 3 years ago. And I have in the last few years done an insane amount of work on myself. I have done certifications. I've done all kinds of things to get myself in a place where I really more deeply understand the mindset and energetic stuff behind being a business owner. Because I've said this before, coming from public accounting, coming from the corporate world that I did, this stuff is not something that people really talk about ever, especially not as an accountant. Like, we talk about numbers, we talk about spreadsheets, we talk about getting stuff done and putting the work in, right? And not so much about the mindset stuff. But honestly, truly, y'all, like, this is the stuff that if you can unravel it, this is the real difference maker, that combined with the tactics and the strategic stuff that we've talked about in other episodes, this is what will make you successful. This is what will help you hit the goals that you have for your business. So I'm going to give you 3 things that you can do when you feel yourself having that mindset of under-earning, having the mindset of fear or whatever has come up for you that you wrote down in your journaling session. Number 1, I think this is probably the most important, is to allow your emotions. So a lot of times when we feel this way, we will feel this negative emotion come up, and it doesn't feel good to feel that way. And so we shove it down because we either were not taught to express ourselves when we were little, or we are just taught to like pick ourselves back up and ignore it, keep going, whatever it is. You have to, though, stop and feel the emotion and allow it and process it. So taking the time to do that, I think, is really, really important. I'm not saying to wallow in your emotions. I'm not saying the word that comes to mind is overindulging in feeling that way, because I think that also is not healthy. But I will say trying to suppress it, trying not to feel it is never going to make it go away. It's only going to come back later tenfold. Number 2 is visualization. So for those numbers that you wrote down for your goals that you have for your business, practicing multiple times a week, visualizing yourself either having that amount of money or doing the things that you would do if you had that amount of money is going to help to rewire your brain. I'm going to tell you a crazy story about visualization. So your subconscious mind does not realize that when you are visualizing something, whether you're journaling about it and writing it down in great detail, or you're just picturing it in your mind, your subconscious brain does not know that that is not really happening. I had read this before and never fully believed it, but this was several months ago. I get migraines, not super regularly, but when I get them, they last for 4 or 5 days. This was several months ago. I was on like day 3 or 4 of a migraine. I was laying in bed in the dark. I had taken all kinds of medicine. Nothing was making it going away. And I was laying in bed and I thought about how I had seen this video on TikTok that showed somebody with a migraine putting their feet in ice water and then like a hot towel around their neck. And that would help to take the blood, like change your blood flow so it wasn't like worse in your head. I'm not explaining migraines well. But basically, I was laying there and I said, well, maybe I should try this. And I literally just started picturing the things that I would need to do in my mind. I was psyching myself up to get out of bed despite my head hurting, to go get the things I needed to put my feet in ice water. And in my head, I pictured putting my feet in ice water, still laying in bed, haven't moved, and my migraine went away. Y'all, it was the craziest thing. I was laying there. I was like, what in the world? Because my brain did not know that I wasn't really putting my feet in ice water. It was just prepping itself. It thought that I was doing that. And so it went ahead and did whatever, move the blood down to my feet to help offset the effects of putting my feet in ice water. And so to this day, ever since I realized that when I get a migraine, if it won't go away, I just sit there and I visualize putting my feet in ice water, and I kid you not, it makes my migraine go away in the moment. When I stop visualizing, it comes back. Point being, your brain doesn't realize that when you visualize things in your mind, it does not realize that it's not really happening. And so visualization can be really important to get your brain accustomed to this idea of you having the amount of money that you want to make. Tip number 3 is to add triggers around you, triggers of wealth. I heard this on a podcast like several months ago, and I thought it was really interesting. But the idea is that you put things around you that get you accustomed to the idea that money, that wealth is all around you. And so it could be as simple as carrying cash in your wallet. Every time you open it up, you're going to see wads of 20s sitting there. And your brain will be like, oh, wow, there's money everywhere. I've seen where people will put, rolled up $5 bills, $20, $100 bills, whatever, in their kitchen drawer. So every time they open up their drawer to get a spoon, they see money sitting there. You can just leave cash squirreled around. Now, this is probably going to bring up some thoughts for you about leaving money around, the safety of it and the scarcity of it. But that's kind of the point, is this idea of triggering yourself to think about there's money everywhere. And you know what? If I did lose this, it's not the end of the world because I still have more. It could also be things like going into shops, like going into a really nice luxury store and looking at jewelry, looking at handbags, looking at things, even if you're not going to buy it, getting yourself accustomed to being at that level where you're the kind of person who goes into the store that has really expensive things. Test driving luxury cars. It could be driving. This is one of my favorites, especially when we, travel somewhere and they have really nice areas. Like my in-laws live in Naples, Florida, and I love to do this, but driving around into neighborhoods where there are multi-million-dollar houses and just, again, visualizing yourself like you're driving home, you're driving up to your house. Putting triggers around you of wealth versus having all of your triggers around you making you think of scarcity will help your brain become accustomed to this idea of earning more and help you to shift your beliefs. All right, y'all. So we talked about the causes of under-earning. We talked about some things that you can do about it. So if you didn't do it already, I really encourage you to take some time, sit with the questions that I asked you, do some journaling, and see if you can uncover what that money block is, what that limiting belief is that you have in your head that is preventing you from making the amount of income that you want to make, and then starting to shift that. And if you want some extra support around this is exactly what we do in the High Profit Society. We combine the tactics, the strategies for profitable business growth and wealth creation with the mindset, with the energetic work, and we have a community of business owners who are all growth minded and all working to actually really do the thing. It's a really great place. So you can go and apply for the High Profit Society at trustyoungco.com/society. All right, so that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments if you have any amazing takeaways from doing this, and I'll see you back next time.